Do you want Elder Scrolls 6 but hate Bethesda? Well, maybe Fatekeeper is something that you could be interested in. This is potentially another attempt at the next indie Skyrim. We already had Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon, which is an amazing game, huge fan of it, and now there's Fatekeeper, an early access game, so it's not fully finished, but it's literally something like $10 at this point, okay? I'm not being paid to promote this. I just think I want something that's Skyrim, but actually better. And I think this is potential. This is by a 13-man team, so I have been told. And I'm not gonna lie, it may have a lot of potential. So let's check.
Today we're talking about Fatekeeper. This is a brief one. It's an early access game that had some interest around it. When the game was initially revealed, we talked about it in a few videos because it looked interesting. This is a new game from an apparently very small development team of 13 people, a studio called Paraglacial, but they're being published by big-time publisher THQ Nordic. People were interested because the debut trailer highlighted some really cool visuals and just a tight, concentrated game focused solely around sword and sorcery. Playing as this big druid known here as a watcher, you're swinging swords and clubs and you're casting fireballs in an action RPG game with some combat that looked like advanced Skyrim mixed with Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. That's a good combo. People are excited.
Yeah, it does not look like it's something super special, to be honest. But I mean, $10 early access. This already seems kind of worth it, in my honest opinion.
Excited about something like that returning, that feel. That's definitely what the developers are going for. I just think it's going to take some time to actually get there. To be upfront, this is an early access release, and it is very early access, okay? I bought in for $8 on Steam.
Destructible terrain.
And I kind of feel like I bought an advanced tech demo with some cool ideas.
Oh wow, a lot of destructible terrain, though it falls a little bit janky. But this has potential.
Only a couple of hours of gameplay here. It's just a sampling to see what they're going for and, you know, potentially for them to get a lot of feedback. I wouldn't recommend buying in yet unless you're deeply serious about seeing this game go from 0 to 100%, because right now it feels like a very, very early work in progress. Story-wise, not too much setup. The presentation is very light because it is early access. You mostly just get loading screens with some dialogue just setting up the situation. But long story short, you're a big, heavy tank of a warrior. It's not yet completely clear what you're doing.
Ring of Mana. I mean, this has already all the basic stuff that, like, Skyrim has. Again, it looks good. I understand why people are very honestly interested in this. Now, granted, it does only have a couple of hours of gameplay, but again, $10 currently. Is it worth it, though, if it's only a couple of hours? I don't know. Definitely better than most, well, everything that Starfield has to offer. But still, this could have a lot of potential. But if you want something that's already finished and still getting updated, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, great game.
But you are venturing through realms. You're plodding through areas, bashing and slicing your way through. You got this cool, creepy rat guy companion on your shoulder.
Oh, look at that! It's Grogu! Another Grogu! No, actually, it's a rat, so it's not really Grogu.
Who you may have remembered from the trailer. The voice sounds way better compared to that reveal trailer now. Definitely an improvement. You progress through somewhat linear areas, and it seems like you'll be able to warp back to your little home area and gear up and venture out to other areas via an area map. Structurally, that's really it, at least from what we can tell from this demo. Combat is the main event here. You are a heavy, like I said, so it's all about deliberate, slow strikes and movement.
Looks pretty decent, huh? We got some blood. The animations look pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie.
And it takes some time to really get sorted. It took me a little while to get the hang of it. You got axes, big two-handed claymore swords, and clubs. That's a lot of what you're using, but I also did pick up a
I mean, we literally saw him use a dagger somewhere around the spot, but okay.
Cool dagger at one point. So you have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a block. The heavy attack feels pretty great. It can be charged and held and then unleashed at a certain time. And you can also follow it up with another heavy attack. And the animations and moves kind of combine to make it feel like a good.
Oh no, orcs are the bad guys. The vote crowds are gonna rally to defend this. Oh no.
Heavy slow combo. You can also dash in any direction to dodge enemy attacks, even though it really only works when you do a perfect dodge. You get a little bit of a good boost there, but you can also kick dudes. Everything costs stamina, quite a bit of it, in fact. So again, that's
Oh, so this is like tainted grail.
where it's deliberate, and that's where you need to choose your moves carefully. Or at least that's what it seems like they want you to do. I'll get to that in a little bit, but you also have a mana meter, and you have access to a variety of different spells that you can nicely swap on the fly.
By the way, here's the meter if you're wondering. It's nothing special, but it exists.
You can shoot fireballs, which not only burns enemies, but you can actually set stuff in the environment on fire. You can freeze enemies to slow their speed down a little bit. You have this really, really weak force push. And you can also grab and yank enemies with telekinesis. After experimenting, I learned that you can also use it to grab objects in the environment and throw it back at enemies too. You can also kick enemies off cliffs, into spike walls, knock stuff down in the environment to hit them. The game encourages a little experimentation. You really have to time all of your moves perfectly because you have limited stamina, and use all of the stuff in your environment to your advantage to actually survive encounters. Because even though you're fighting a lot of low-level goblin-looking enemies, they can down you pretty quickly. This is actually pretty difficult, but it's satisfying when it works.
The ragdoll physics seem nice.
Especially like you get a big long swing of a weapon, a controlled swing that can often bash through.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that aggressive though, and it does kind of seem weak. But I mean, it's early access, but it does look like this is one of the things that probably has promise. The graphics look nice. Now, granted, graphics for me mean absolutely nothing, but they look nice. Okay, very important, I guess.
Multiple guys if you time and aim it right. This stuff right here, this has potential. Simple, fun, gory murder and spell casting. Enemies are really fun to just toss around. You can chop their heads off, their limbs off. I can see where the fun factor lies, but it's just not there yet. Hit detection feels kind of off and unpredictable. Hit feedback seems uneven. And the enemy.
Oh, they have the tainted grail. When you do a last hit, it freezes time a little bit. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Themselves, right? Like their behavior doesn't really set you up for any success in using the environment, because as of right now, they're pretty dumb and they just bum rush you. Attack patterns and animations also seem off and are kind of hard to nail down. That,
I mean, fair criticism, fair point. But how about the counterpoint that whatever the fuck these things are supposed to be, they don't look exactly like the intellectual types.
down. That, coupled with a really squishy block, just kind of makes it feel like it's not ready for prime time yet. The slow, chunky, brute murder mixed with the kind of physics-based bullet storm environmental kills, I can absolutely get on board with that once it all feels tighter. But it struggles when you're encountering a lot of enemies. There's kind of an underwhelming boss, but also a lot of environments feel really large, and sometimes you have to sprint long ways to get over to where you need to take advantage of the environment. And between the mindless enemies and your limited stamina, it just doesn't feel like it flows quite right. Couple that with some really frustrating checkpointing that just doesn't feel figured out yet. It's a lot of die, rinse, repeat, a lot of trial and error and figuring.
Okay, this was what I was wondering. You know why I'm not a fan of graphics? Because of this. Okay? Every time I see some Unreal Engine 4 type of BS graphic fidelity nonsense, I'm instantaneously thinking Veilguard. And this type of, hiding things is exactly the Veilguard type of situation. And I want Tainted Grail type of situation, okay? There's a lot of things hidden, and people who look for them get rewarded. This is not it, though. I don't like this. I like when things are actually hidden. But again, For something that's literally in early access and there's like 2 hours, 3 hours of gameplay, this does seem pretty good. This does seem like it's huge potential.
A lot of trial and error and figuring out when to use the right spells, when to use the environment to your advantage. And that works, but in terms of the way that checkpointing works and how you can kind of save at campfires, but then also there's some autosaves. Sometimes they're in between encounters, other times they go for long stretches, and it can be kind of frustrating. Difficulty is fine. The framework is there, though.
Wait. Is this like a on-rails story thing, not an open world?
There's a skill tree that's surprisingly big. When you first bring it up, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of nodes for a
Oh, interesting. I mean, skill trees are nice.
skill tree.
Even if it's just plus 5 HP, it's nice to have a skill tree.
A lot of it is in the early days here, just kind of building up more health, more stamina, better, more efficient use of mana. But there's definitely a lot of room for more, and I appreciate the ambition because you level up pretty quickly, so it's fun to dump some points. Along with that, there is a crafting system. You find recipes and you pick up random objects in the environment that tend to be crafting ingredients, and then when you find a cauldron, you can craft stuff like potions or like throwable bombs. Funnily enough, when you pick up stuff in the environment, a lot of the crafting ingredients will just go to your auto use inventory, like mapped to a D-pad. Those quick use items you would have for your healing items then will also get auto-populated by items that you should not consume because they're for crafting and they'll kill you. So sometimes that just happens by
That is hilarious.
accident, and it's a little finicky and frustrating. But the fact that it has a crafting system is good, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much they can really do with it, because just looking at the stats and looking at the item descriptions and what they're going for, it seems like there's going to be a good amount for what is otherwise, like I said, a pretty straightforward action RPG with a somewhat linear structure. Along with that, the equipment screen, you get to see your big old brute in full glory, and you have different loadouts and armor sets that I just think
Okay.
this also has potential. Like, they got all the right stuff here.
Wait, but this is an open world game because currently he's talking about like it's on fully on rails. I thought this is supposed to be open world.
just think the actual rest of the game really needs to come together. The environments that we did see look great. You got tons of detail, you got flora and fauna, you got some solid lighting and textures going on in caves and dungeon type areas. And again, gore, blood, that's all there. Even if that's still a work in progress, you see a lot of glitches and enemies kind of like flipping about. I can absolutely see the vision. Like I said, it's got a few hours of content, and I'd say at about
Shelob?
2 hours, you pretty much feel like you've mostly seen everything. This is very clearly what is set up to be like the start of the game, but even the start of the game here isn't like a completed start of the game. There is a tutorial. It is very straightforward. Like I said, there's not really much story onboarding. You don't know what's going on. And in terms of just figuring out how the game works, the trial and error, the difficulty, you just gotta kind of rinse and repeat and die over and over again until you really start to figure out the flow.
Okay.
As of right now, dealing with ranged enemies also seems clunky. You can't block the stuff that they throw at you, and enemies constantly are throwing rocks at you. And for a big, heavy armored guy, you're just getting pelted. I only bring that up just to, again, like get the point across that it is messy. But if they can tighten up the story, they can embrace the cool rat. If the combat can feel stronger, still challenging, but also more fun to take advantage of all the aspects.
Yeah, the combat the combat has a weakness here, okay? And that's it. That combat has the most simplest of weaknesses in every game that you can make. Honestly, it's kind of bad. Again, early access, blah 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 blah. But still, the fact that you're supposed to be this super big buff guy and you wield a double-handed great fucking sword, and you hit something like this and it just does not insta die, kind of seems a little bit off. When you're using something that's really slow, you want that damage to be felt. That's how you want these things to do, okay? So think of it in the Dark Souls sense. When you have something that takes 5 years to slam down, you want that thing to do a lot of damage. Okay? But here, I mean, you're kind of doing the big swings, you're slow and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like you're doing enough damage. That's currently like the biggest problem that I'm kind of seeing here with the combat. The rock throwing is actually fine. Tainted Grail has the thing that you can't just cheese enemies at range. They're going to use some form of projectile to kill you. I think this is good.
A better healing system. I think between casting fireballs and chopping heads off and kicking dudes into spike pits, there can be a lot of fun here. Not every game needs to be a massive, endless 500-hour RPG. Sometimes I just want to walk around.
But they should. Not gonna lie, they should. Nothing wrong with a little bit of everyone's favorite Crimson Desert.
Cast some spells, do some light crafting, and go on a cool adventure. And that's what Fatekeeper seems to be cooking on, but again, right now, what they're offering is basically a tech demo. It is very much not finished. It is very much a work in progress. I'm glad they were upfront about that, but I just want to mention that because I don't think some people are going to realize. They're just going to say, oh, cool, $8 early access game. Or the reality is, it's like an $8 demo. In fact, we didn't know this going in. Usually we do before you buys. When we do them on early access games, they're early access games that are a bit more far along. With this, we definitely plan on doing a full-on before you buy, probably to replace this one once the game
synchronized animations, I'm not a fan of that. I hate when I see that.
Actually fully releases in 1.0. I'm excited to see what they do with this thing. I really hope they get the feedback they need to really bring it up to.
This had a peak of 6K players on Steam, by the way. I checked. Now, granted, it's going down really fast because, again, blah, 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 demo this, demo that, not finished early access. But 6K for a demo out of nowhere is not bad, to be honest.
Snuff and just make.
And if there's a big production behind this, aka there's money, I mean, oh no, I'm personally not spending the $10. By the way, just want to say that. But this could be an attempt, a good chance at the next Skyrim-ish installation, which would be amazing.
A cool ass simple action RPG adventure. But right now, that's a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I'll give you some
action RPG adventure. Seriously, this was not supposed to be. Hello there. I mean, this was not supposed. I thought this was open world. I swear I heard open world somewhere. Well, whatever, I guess. Anyway, looks impressive for 2 hours. Lamau, that's what he said. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye bye.